Hey, what's going on, everybody? Sorry about that. It's head to head with Brian Parker. I was getting my technical difficulties out of the way. We are live. Sorry about that. We are streaming from YouTube as well as on the NPower TV network. And I just wanted to jump on for a few minutes and recap what was going on with presidential debate. I started the last stream before got shut off by saying it looked as if Donald Trump was a little tamer. I don't know, on something. He had some Valium or something, but he certainly wasn't his normal self when it comes to debates and talking over people. Obviously, tuning the microphones out served its purpose and it did work to a certain extent. I wasn't fully um, confident that that would definitely mute him, so to speak, as he can get very loud, and I stated him speaking over the mic, even if muted out. But for the most part, he complied with a lot of that. Towards the end, it got a little chippier. Um, but I'm gonna be honest, really wasn't that good. Um, there was a whole bunch of lying. Don't get me wrong, that ain't gonna change. Um, and we'll talk about some of that too. But for the most part, I put in the caption who won the debate. To be honest, who won the debate? The moderator, Kristen Welker. Even though Donald Trump tried to preempt the whole debate by questioning her motives and bringing up her parents. Back in the old days, I'm old enough to remember in politics, you didn't talk about people's families and anything like that. And it kind of seems like now with this guy, you can talk about anybody except for his family. Which there are a lot of questions to ask in regards with his family. But anyway, Kristen Walker did a great job of moderating for the most part. She kept it steady. She kept it directed. She allowed them to rebut even when she had another question, but she gave them a limited amount of time. Really did a good job of reining that in. If you look at how the first debate went with Chris Wallace, I think he could have done a little bit better had he had a muted mic, but I think in mind too, so trying to not appear so harsh to Trump kind of allowed him to run and run and run more good. Then Savannah Guthrie did the town hall with Trump, which totally a disaster from the standpoint that if he wasn't going to do the COVID test so that they could do the second debate, why do you NBC reward him and give him, hey Bianca Brooks, hey, why in the world do you sit there and give him a platform like that? If these two can't debate, you can't take a damn COVID test and what's really going on. So I think the moderator did a great job. Like I said, lots of falsehoods on both sides, but I don't really feel like either candidate really landed a punch and knocked out either one. Whatever you went into this debate thinking and feeling, I would tend to imagine walked out of the debate probably feeling pretty much the same. If there was anything that was said to change your mind, please put that in the comment box and let me know. I would be real interested. Definitely talk about it on later shows. Speaking of later shows, as I announced earlier yesterday, Head to Head with Brian Parker is coming back. We're going to go back to doing our weekly formats and having our panels. If you would be interested from time to time to join, please let me know either in the comment box or me. Folks, it goes. Um, you can send me an email at theparkermedia@gmail.com. I definitely want to be able to start the conversation up again now that we've successfully down here to North Carolina. So we definitely want to do that, engage. There's going to be times where it's about politics or entertainment, other things going on in the world. So um, would love to be able to get different points of view. I'm very opinionated. If you didn't figure that out by now, but I know that there's other uh, opinions, experiences, points of views out there, and we love to have that. Do not have to commit to being on the panel each and every single week, but we would love to see your face from time to time. We film probably around 6 o'clock, last 45 minutes, hour, get it in, and that kind of thing. Also, NPower has grown to the point, started the network on August the 15th, so just now hit about 2 months in a week, and the content is growing and growing and growing. Started out with about 4 hours worth of content altogether because short films can be short and it takes a lot of 10, 15, 20-minute films to get you up to 4 hours. That talk shows and everything else. So it is growing and growing and growing. And I am very appreciative to everybody for that. We are also advertising. So if there are folks that are listening that you have a product, you have a service, something that you would like to advertise on our network, please let me know and I will give you some information about that too. Know of someone that has a business. Doesn't really matter what it is. Computer repair, TV repair, uh, walk dogs. I got a small business. We sell food. We do catering, logos, design, whatever it is, and you would like to advertise that, push that out into the Roku universe, please let me know and we will help you do that. If you don't have a commercial, we can try to help make one for you. At least be decent enough to appear on TV. Now, back into the debate. And I stepped aside, kind of made my little PSA. Back to the debate. I want to tell you the thing that really kind of got under my skin is one of the things that Donald Trump has said many, many times. And it's like when you talk to somebody and they have an instant response, and you know that it's one of a lot with a lot of things about he's done more outside of Abraham Lincoln black people is laughable. But let me explain something to you. A lot of time white people think that because they have allowed us freedom and rights, we need to be grateful for the things that we. That's why NFL players are referred to him as sons of bitches because they should just play or dribble and be thankful that we're allowing them to make these incredible salaries that other people would be very appreciative. And it's an equivocation of dissent, um, dissent of something, me protesting something is showing a lack of appreciation, as if we have to prove an appreciation. Because last time I checked, black folks are Americans too. So I don't understand why I got to show you appreciation because, well, I'm not out in the fields anymore, or that kind of thing. I don't understand that, but he seems to equivocate the fact that, well, I've done prison reform, I've done this, I've done that. Dude, you signed your name to a bill. You were not advocating these bills. They were put in front of you, signed your name to it because it's required that if you don't sign it, it doesn't become law. So you idiot, we understand. You did not run on prison reform. You did not run on funding HBCUs. Special shout out to my daughter's school, Winston State University, historically black college. Maybe not. But anyway, um, he did not run on that kind of platform. So to then try to take credit for this is what I've done for black people, it kind of reminds me of when white people would say, well, I'm not racist. I've had 3 black people in my house. That don't mean you racist. That means that the fact that you counting black people, yeah, tell me how many white folks have been in your house. Oh, can't seem to think of it. I wonder why. You know how many black people have been there. And it makes absolutely no sense. So listen, didn't run on any of that stuff. Signed his name. At the end of the day, he was the president. He fighted over it. So yes, he does get some of that credit being able to. But with Trump, you got to understand something. Very transactional. So when he does something, he does it with the expressed intent that it should come back to benefit him in a certain way. If you feel passionate that people are being locked up unfairly, disproportionately to their lighter counterparts, then what you're getting back could be the feeling that justice is finally being served. That's not what he wants back. If I let these black folks out of jail and do all of these things and I help fund these HBCUs, are they going to vote for me? That's the game. Are they going to come to me when I need them? He is all about quid pro quo. Everything he does is about quid pro quo. Everything, guys. Everything is it's not the action. If you take the action out in a vacuum, nobody can say, hey, that's not a good thing that, he's released people and folks that have had very long sentences for no reasons. But it's all about benefiting him. On the flip side of it, all the pardons that he's done, they benefited him. They didn't snitch. So he rewarded them because it could have gone the other way had he not done anything. He tried to get Michael Flynn out. He got Roger Stone out. You know, gonna sit there and work with Paul Manafort. All these different things that he'll do, does it with the intent. How can that affect me in a positive way if I make this? It ain't that complicated. The man ain't that smart. So it ain't like he thinks very, very deeply about these things. Okay? But when you say I've done more for black people than Abraham Lincoln, and I'm sitting there thinking, okay, did you voting rights? Jim Crow? Hmm. What is it that you done for black people? Affirmative action. So you let a couple of black folks out of jail, and now the whole black community is just supposed to show you like the NFL players, and all about showing attitude. That's why, if you remember early on, and they would have these round tables at the White House, and each jackass would have to go around and praise him and lather him. That's why Mike Pence can't have a conversation without every sixth word, um, every sixth word. Good question. Every sixth word being about Donald Trump. So I got a comment. I'm going to read it. What politician is not about quid pro quo? End result, who benefits from the results he initiated? Not the end result. What has Biden done in 47 years for black people? Actions do speak louder than words. Okay? What did Trump do about the Central Park Five? What did Trump do when he came down the escalator and said Mexico sends over rapists and murderers? I understand that. Did Joe Biden say, hey, that probably wasn't a cool move back then? But when you think about what Joe Biden has done in 47 years, yeah, you got a lot to pull over and things like that. Is he perfect? Absolutely not. Are politicians about quid pro quo? Yes. I'm not going to tell you a lie that politicians do not sit there and think about how the decisions they make, how the votes that they make will benefit them in the next election. Of course they do. Of course they do. Do they think about how it's going to line them up? Of course they do. Am I accusing Trump of something that I would not accuse another politician of? It's the level, you know, it's the level of it. If your kid skips school, is that the same as your kid not doing a chore? Is that the same as your kid, uh, breaking into a house or stealing a car? There's different levels of stuff. Am I saying that, okay, well, Joe Biden is a choir boy? Absolutely not. That's my point, guys. That's why I tell people, and that's why I get so upset with folks that is because the only time you guys think about them is every 4 years when there's a presidential election. They know you're not holding them accountable because all they do is spend more time raising money. Do you know why politicians, and you brought up a great point, Lisa, about 47 years. To me, to be honest with you, he should never been in the Congress for 47 years. None of them should. Not even that turtle Mitch McConnell or Nancy Pelosi or Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders. You need new people in there. You need fresh blood in there. When these politicians get complacent enough to believe that because they have a R or a D beside their name, that they're going to constantly keep getting a fifth term and a sixth term without any accountability, without somebody looking at their voting record and say, okay, wait a minute. What have you really done for me? Because we don't hold them accountable, whether it's from city level, county level, state level, or federal level. A lot of that is on us because we turn a blind eye to it, or we become uh, so much of a cult that I'm on this team, I'm on this team, and if you got an R on your name, I think you're crazy. If you got a D on your name, I think you're a socialist. And we don't hear each other, we talk past each other. And we do a lot of that. And you know what? What's the funny part is, then they go off to the side behind the cameras and they chucking it up, laughing at all of us because we don't have term limits and they just stay there forever. And at the end of the day, we want them to fight for it. They don't have to worry about it. And that's on both sides of the aisle. I'm not talking about just Republicans. I'm talking about Democrats too. Am I a Democrat? Absolutely. Do I think that Democrats are choir boys? Absolutely not. I think though that you gotta vote to make the change. You have to be able to steer people in the direction that you want them to go. Okay. If I thought Donald Trump could ever get to a point where listening to his constituents would drive him to be a better president, I would actually consider voting for him. But when you're sitting there talking about having red states, blue states, Democrat run states, Republican run states, and try to say you're running your state better because of the R or D behind your name, you're an idiot. That has nothing to do with it at all. How many casinos did you run in the ground without an R or a D behind your name? That just because you have a name doesn't mean that that's going to guarantee a certain level of success. As he's been bankrupt, I don't know how many times, six. So it doesn't mean that. What it means is that there's a lot of levers that have to work together. And guys, a lot of that again is on us. When you don't vote and you give these politicians all this power, and look, we have a lot of elections where we have 30% turnout, but you got 80% people complaining. That don't make no sense. Even in this presidential election, and it's supposed to be a record-setting voting and everything else. That's great, but are we really going to get 75% of all of the folks to actually take the time and vote? Me personally, once you hit 18 years old, you should automatically be registered. Period. Don't mean you should just be counted, but there needs to be other ways of being able to get people to vote. Voting is a okay. Nobody should be disadvantaged when voting is a good thing. There's a lot of people out there trying to, you know, press votes and that vote suppression is real. Gerrymandering. Gerrymandering happens Republican. Gerrymandering happens Democrat. Yeah, I said it's true. But again, when we sit there and we start talking about, to go back to Lisa's point about Joe Biden in 47 years, number one. But I will use that because it keeps being brought up. What have you done in 47 years? Or you and Obama were in office for 8 years and you didn't get this done and didn't get that done. Hmm. If you think that's all it takes, then I'm sorry, Hoss. You need a civics lesson. Most of the time, who the president or vice president is really isn't as important as who the Speaker of the House is and who the Senate Majority Leader is. That's where all the sausage gets made. All the president really has to do is sign the bill. Now, I'm not diminishing what the president's role in getting both sides and trying to bring everybody to the middle and everything, but the president in that capacity is more of a mediator. The House has passed over 400 bills, but it has to go to the Senate. And if the Senate and the Senate Majority Leader solely gets to decide whether or not any bill goes to the floor for debate. And even if they do decide that it can go to the floor for debate, if they even make a few changes to the bill that the House brought over, now the House and the Senate have to conference and work out another bill that both sides have to then go back again and pass. Two-party systems were made for government to move slowly. It was already designed that sides are being held accountable and that they're really coming together with the right intentions. Okay? It's not where the president hijacks his party and says, okay, unless we get everything we want, we're not going to do anything. And the other side says, well, unless we get whatever we want, everything we want, then we're not going to sit there and compromise. The systems were designed to have a balance, not one extreme or another. And there are extremes in Republicans, there are extremes in Democrats. And you can't live your life in extremes. We don't personally live our lives in extremes, right? So we have to understand that there has to be a lot of compromise. Doesn't mean that you're giving up your values like that. You have to understand that for a lot of bills to pass, you have to have either a simple majority, but for some things to pass, you have to have a super majority. There are 100 senators. For some bills to pass, 60 of them have to agree. For other things, because we've gotten rid of uh, the supermajority, it only has to go to 51. And if it's 50-50, then the vice president can come in and be the tiebreaker if it's going to lean that way. That's how it works, folks. So as far as who was the president, who was the vice president, and they were doing it for 8 years, the point of all of that history lesson, civics lesson, was if you have a Senate Majority Leader that basically says, my goal is to keep this president a one-term president. My goal is to not let them get any victories or perceived victories by doing these things. It ain't nothing gonna happen. I don't care who the president is. Only way things will happen like that is if, and I'm gonna give a caveat to it, if the House and the Senate are under the same party as the White House. You got the House under one party, the Senate under another party, and the White House, of course, being one of the two, then that's going to stop a lot of things unless you have a lot of compromise. But the reason I said I'm going to give a caveat to that, there were plenty of times when Obama's administration had a Democrat done. But why? Because every Democrat isn't progressive. Every Democrat isn't liberal. Every Democrat isn't moderate. We have the blue dog Democrats that were basically a bunch of conservative Democrats. Then you got your moderates who are more in the middle. They're more the, you're being a little too crazy. You're being a little too crazy. Come to the middle. And then you got the progressives that are really aggressive to say, oh no, we need to move this along. We're not going to keep just picking around the edges. We need to take bigger bites out of the pie. So even in one party, you have different factions. Republicans had the same thing, especially when the Tea Party came along. That was the whole faction that was bringing them down. They couldn't get enough of them to agree because so many of them were Tea Party members, and they ran on that platform for their constituents. They sent them to Washington to basically say, we're not going to spend. If we do any spending, we have to offset it with cuts and all those other kind of things back in the Paul Ryan, John Boehner days. So you have to understand that the president's role, a lot of times, their role is to be a face. It's like a football team. Who's the most popular person on the football team? It's the quarterback, right? If you've ever watched a football game, have you ever seen a quarterback throw a pass and then go catch it? Have you ever seen a quarterback throw a pass and then go? Brian, that sounds crazy. Why are you equating that to that? Because it takes more than just that quarterback for the team to win. But it doesn't mean that the quarterback isn't the face of the team, and it doesn't mean that when the team wins, who do they interview first? Quarterback. He could have had a crappy game. They still interviewing the quarterback because he's the perceived leader of the team. The president is the perceived leader of the team, yet it takes an offense and a defense for that team to win. Okay? So the president's role is to be more of a unifier. You're not going to find a perfect person to fill that role, to accountable and moving them while they're in Donald Trump going to move the position? You be the judge. I'm not telling you he can't. I don't think he can. I'm not telling you if you believe he can that you're wrong. I just don't think that you're right. And that's okay. Lisa, if you're still watching, God bless you. Thank you for your comment. Would love to have you on the panel sometime so we can chat it up and talk that out and really get it going. I like people to be engaged. I like people to be able to bring facts and things to a conversation, um, and just your different points of view. Um, I did again feel a little kind of up about the fact that Trump went to a lot of talking points. So did Biden. But the whole thing about I've done more for black people, bro, you need to let that go. And because the original question that Kristen Welker asked him was, is that as black folks, doesn't matter how much money you make or anything else, we end up having to have the talk. And that talk is about what do you do, the officer, you act, how do you respond? Because there is a sense of anxiety. The African American community color pulls up behind you. Absolutely nothing wrong. That things could go left really quick because of this person. Officers, I'm gonna say this too. Officers do not need training. If somebody perceives you to be a threat because of the color of your skin, that has training has already been. I'm not saying that to the point that I think people necessarily are racist, but people sometimes have a predetermined disposition of you based on whether it's your color, whether it's your hairstyle, a lot of those other things. The difference is I can change my hairstyle. I can change the way I'm dressed. Unless I'm Sammy Sosa or Michael Jackson, I'm not going to wake up and be lighter tomorrow. Nor should I feel like I should be okay in this. And that could cause a routine traffic stop or not so routine traffic stop to go totally left, and my family is left to figure out why I'm not in. So the question was more directed to what do you say to those families who feel like they you two have to have that talk. We've had to have that talk for you. Never answered the question. It was, oh, this is my laundry list of what I think I've done for black people and why I think they should appreciate what I've done for them. Because ain't nobody, and it almost sounds like the words of what an abuser would say. You've been beating your wife and you say to her, nobody's going to treat you better than I can. And that's the way to keep your thumb down on that person. Make them think, what's the point of leaving you? Because this is the best I'm going to do. So I might as well just deal with, the two-piece sandwich that you're giving me. So I'm going to tell you all the things I've done for black people. Like it's a laundry list. I don't need a laundry list of what you've done for black people. I didn't ask you to be the president of black people. You should be the president of the United States. What things are you doing for the African American community? Sure, fair question. But again, when you start listing all the things that you've done for black people, it's the same crap I hear when white folks say how many black people they've had in their house to justify the fact that they're not racist. That wasn't the question. The question is, what do you say to them? Especially when you go around and you stoke the flames of do not disavow groups. No, you're an opportunist at the worst. Still makes you a terrible human in my book. But that's my opinion. And because it's called Head to Head with Brian Parker, my opinion. You ain't gotta like it. But if you really want to give me your opinion about it, you don't agree with it, lastly, send me a message. Join the show. Would love to hear from you. At the end of the day, guys, we all got to be on this earth. We need to sit there and practice love. And, it was funny because the president put out a statement about we need to be more focused on good character and things try to denigrate the modern state because her parents had donated. And she was pictured right next to President, as if that means anything. Because I mean, hell, Donald Trump's been pictured next to a whole bunch of Democrats, and he's donated to a bunch of them. So, dude, is it one of those hello pot, hello kettle kind of things? Because your premise is that if you donate to Democrats, then you cannot be objective. Dude, you donated to Democrats, and as far as I know, before you came down the escalator, you were more of a Democrat than a Republican. You know, whatever. So anyway, I think the debate was really kind of blah, um, and not because they muted the mics, because everybody just kind of stood in their corner and just belted out their talking points, and we really didn't get them to challenge each other like I really want to. And I think under the circumstances, the way Kristen Welker was trying to run the debate and keep it civil, he did not want to open up that can of worms and let it become a free for all and then lose control. And I totally understand that. Totally respect her for what she did. She did a great job, in my opinion. Let me know what you think. We're about to come to a close, but guys, thank you so much. And again, NPower TV is streaming on the Roku TV app. If you have a Roku TV, all you got to do is go to search, add NPower. Add that. We've got a lot of great content on there. We've had a lot of folks reaching out to us to be able to put on their short films. We've got comedy, we've got other talk shows on there other than just me. Even though we also do have head to head sports. Every Thursday comes out where myself and my co host Randall Hargrove cap the current week of NFL football because I'm so glad football is actually still going. That we chop it up a bit, talk about that. There are music videos, there are other things that are popping up, and we're excited and thankful and grateful for that. Viewership is increasing more and more every day. I'm glad to be able to see our analytics are showing us that we're even getting some viewership in Mexico. We're getting Canada, and even in the United Kingdom. So very happy to see that. Very, very grateful to all of our content creators and contributors for the things that they send us. Continue to do that. We got plenty of space available to add more and more content, guys. Remember, Roku has over 45 million users worldwide. So adding your content to our channel, it can be viewed by somebody that's halfway across the world, and they will see that on the channel. Once we really, really get things on and popping, then we're going to add Amazon Fire because I know there's some people that have that Fire stick. like that. If you want to be able to at least view what's going on and you don't have a Roku streaming TV, or you don't have a Roku streaming stick plug into your HMDI port, you can always go to our website at parkermediacompany.com and view the live stream, or you can just simply go to the on demand category and look at the nice catalog of different shows that we have. Guys, I really appreciate you. Um, I do this for therapy probably, but I also do it because I want to be able to have a voice and be able to provide a platform for a lot of people out there that really would love an opportunity out. So again, thanks again. Y'all be blessed. Have a good night. Stay safe. And like I like to say, fair damn man. Till next time, y'all. Take care.
And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it.
And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the